There's never enough time
Never enough for what?
to satisfy a woman.
Then you never want to miss an opportunity.
Hi, I'm Johnny. This is Johnny Likes, the show where I talk about movies that I like. Today I'm talking about a pretty solid action sci-fi movie from the 90s, starring the muscles from Brussels himself, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Today, Johnny Likes Timecop.
Tell the world.
Van Damme plays Walker. He's a time cop. Time travel has been invented, and he is there to make sure no one messes with the past. Ron Silver plays McComb, a slimy and ambitious politician who is using time travel for his own benefit. Sara plays Melissa, Walker's wife. She's dead. Walker's got to stop McComb before time runs out. Well, I saw this one in the theater, and I loved it. I was just a little kid. I would have been 9 or 10 years old. Saw it with my dad. It was a good time. It checks a whole bunch of boxes of just stuff I like. Time travel. Check. Hand-to-hand combat. Check. Cool special effects. Check. Shootouts. Check. A story simple enough for a 9-year-old to follow. Check. And a little bit of gratuitous nudity. Checkity check. So there's a couple cool FX things in this movie. The time travel effect with the kind of ripple, that looks awesome. Love it. The guy getting his arm froze and broke off, that was pretty cool. And when two people who are the same people occupy the same space and they turn into a kind of bloody blob, that was pretty neat for the time. Doesn't hold up super great, but for the time, pretty good. There was also a bit of green screen trickery here that was done mostly well. There's a few shots where Ron Silver is kind of dancing around himself. That was done good. There was a not so good one also where Van Damme shows up in front of a semi and has to duck. That one, a little bit more obvious, not so great. There's no big surprises or twists in this movie. It's fairly by the numbers. And even though I've seen it a ton over the years, this most recent watch that I did was the first time in probably over 10 years. And there was some stuff that I couldn't help but mock as I watched it. Even though I love it, I could not help but mock and make fun of some things. These are those things. Now, I know that you have to turn your brain off a little bit anytime you involve time travel in a story. And I'm fine with that. I can generally do that. But there was a couple times here where Matuzek, Van Damme's boss in the movie, is clueless to the point of absurdity. So Walker comes back from a mission and claims that stuff is different from when he left. And Matuzek is all like, "Have you been taking crazy pills? What are you talking about, buddy?" Matuzek, you work for a time travel enforcement agency. This should be like the norm. That bugged me, and it never really had before. And I get he is as dumb as he is, because that's how you have to treat the audience. You have to assume that they're all really dumb. And I appreciated as a 10-year-old that I was able to figure out what was going on before one of the characters on screen. And that made me feel pretty smart. The self-driving cars that they have in the future, which is 2004 by the way, looked cool enough, but it's just a stretch that car design would change that much in like 10 years. Like, not ever in the history of cars has there been that drastic of a stylistic change. People just don't accept it. You can ask around. Don't ask around. I've read from car designers that they actually get frustrated that they can't do anything cool and new just because people don't really buy it. Also, they gave the cars like what looks like wood paneling from afar, but it's like yellow reflective tape, or it's supposed to be lights of some sort, but from like a half block away, it's like, yeah, it looks just like wood paneling, which is comical. The couple assassin guys that we see in the mall and later at Walker's, they have quite the look to them. If there's nothing else that I remember from this film, it's the look of these guys. And I would say that I would describe it as very back of house. getting Van Damme to do the splits. That's kind of one of his calling cards. He does the splits and he kicks people. And this one, they get him to do the splits at least twice, and it made me kind of clap and go, yay, he's doing the thing. It's pretty great both times it happens, I'm not going to lie. It's corny, but you expect it to happen at least once. The time machine setup they have. So it's like a car on a train track, and it's got to get up to a certain speed, I think. They don't really explain how it works, but there's speed involved. Anyways, there's like a cement block at the end of this track, and it's got 2 red dots on it that they refer to as the Vollmer twins, which is they didn't get up to speed and got dead. Why not make the track longer? Did no one think of this? Are they that strapped for cash? Last thing, which is a minor spoiler for the end of the film, but so Van Damme saves Sara, but the house still blows up. He comes back to the future, 2004, from 1994, and his house, it's the exact same as it was. Did they just rebuild it and repaint it? Alright, that's enough making fun of the film for now. As I actually really do like this film, I think it ranks among Van Damme's best, despite all the little quirks I mentioned. When I was watching the opening credits this time around, there was a few things that caught my eye that I never noticed before. First of all, it was based on a comic series. I never knew that. One of the writers, Mark Verheiden. And I also saw that Sam Raimi was a producer of some sort on the... Just adds a touch of credibility to the whole thing. Peter Hyams was the director of this film, and he has done quite a few decent movies over the years. He did Outland, 2010, Stay Tuned, The Relic, End of Days, to name a few. And he does an excellent job here. Nothing super showy, and he seems to just be a competent director for hire. Nothing he's done has ever been spectacular, but nothing has been all that bad either of the credits that I've seen. He's just a guy who knows how to consistently make a decent film. Shows up, does his job, and releases the film on time and on budget. I assume. I don't know if that part's true. But I respect that. Not everyone needs to be an auteur. Van Damme is, and always has been, a good action star. He can kick, he can punch, he can roll around, he can shoot stuff. It's what he's good at, and it's what he does here. His acting has never been his strong suit. That's fine. He's fine here. He's fine. Sara plays an excellent dead wife. We get to see her and Van Damme together for like an afternoon. And she sells the chemistry a lot more than he does. It's mostly believable due to her. And I wish that she never retired, as I've always liked her. Ron Silver is great as the overly ambitious senator. He did a great job at actually portraying himself as 2 different people, like his past and present self. And the action, which was what you came here to see, I would assume, is well shot for the most part. There is a little bit at the end where they're in Walker's house, and it's just too dark to see quite what's going on. Maybe this was intentional. I somehow doubt it was, though. At any rate, the rest of it was well choreographed, except for the hand-to-hand knife fight in Van Damme's apartment. There is a shot where Van Damme is just holding out a knife like this, and the other guy is just going right at his knife without trying to get around it, and it's pretty obvious once you see it. It could have been done a bit better, but maybe Van Damme has a thing about knives. Maybe that was a last-minute choreographed thing. I don't know. I wasn't there, but it shows up in the final product. Other than those minor quibbles, all the other action stuff was pretty solid. Now, I've spent a good portion of this review just kind of ripping on the film. Now, don't get me wrong. There are problems, but I still love this movie. It's, I'm biased. Like I said, I saw it when I was 9. Heckin' loved it. So I've got nostalgia glasses on. Watching it with kind of, critic eyes on, it's still pretty decent for, a 30-year-old movie. And I would still put it on par with Bloodsport and Maximum Risk, which are my other favorite Van Damme films. I unfortunately think that it hasn't aged super gracefully, It's very much of its time, like the late 80s, early 90s action stuff. So if I say this is a time travel movie from the 90s starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, and you're not like, go on, then you might want to skip this one, as I don't think there'll be too much here for you. I'm going to rate this a 3.5 out of 5. If you're looking for some fun, slightly cheesy sci-fi action from the 90s, this is possibly the film for you, and you could definitely do worse. If you like this, check out Maximum Risk for more mid-90s Van Damme fun. Paycheck for some more timey-wimey, solid middle-of-the-road action. And Split Second for some more cliche-filled 90s sci-fi action stuff. So what's your favorite Van Damme film? And what do you want to hear me talk about next? Let me know in the comments. And if you could do me a favor and like and subscribe, that would be fetch. It's quick, it's free, it's relatively painless, plus it really helps me out. Thanks for watching me talk about movies for a little while, and you can tune in next time to see what else Johnny likes.
Wolverine,
Between the lines.
I should get the fuck out of here.